Dear students, today we'll go to see the 18th section of ECD lab in which we'll see the operation modes of transistor. Then we'll see application of transistor as a switch and as an amplifier. Then we will see the thermal runaway problem, and then we'll see the need of heat sinks. So let's start with today's presentation. The first one, what we have today is operating regions of BJT, what we had already studied in our last class. Second, we'll be having BJT as a switch application. Third, we'll be having BJT as an amplifier, another application. Then we'll be having a thermal runaway as a problem, and then for that problem, to solve that problem, we'll study why do we need heat sink. So let's start with the topic. So to study the operation modes of BJT, the best thing is to look at the output characteristics of BJT in whichever configuration it is. Now mostly we see it in common emitter or configuration. So here, if you see the output or characteristics, if you draw that graph, then it will be a graph between a voltage between collector and emitter, which is named as VCE on the x-axis, and y-axis representing the output current, that is collector current IC in milliampere. And in that, when you draw the output or characteristics for different input currents, then you will get the first curve, second curve, third curve. So as the input current goes on increasing, the output current value also goes on increasing. Okay, and it will remain constant because the output current depends upon only on the input current. Okay, so here afterwards you can see a straight line which is remaining constant. Now if you draw a graph like this, so initially when the input current is zero, that is base current, say in this case of common emitter configuration, when the input current is zero, IB is the input current, because if you see this configuration here, okay, so here you can see this is common emitter configuration, this is your input circuit, this is input circuit, and this is your output circuit. Okay, output circuit. So here you have your emitter, here you have base, and here you have collector. So the input current is IB and the output current is IC. So in this case you can show the input current and output current. So when input current is zero, okay, so there should be no flow of output current, but only a small leakage type of current flows, and that is why you get a very small negligible value here. Now this region, when the input current is zero, this is called as a cutoff region. This is called as cutoff region. So this is your cutoff region of the transistor. Okay? Now initially when the input current is applied and as the output current varies, it increases initially and then remains constant. So that area where you show this area is your saturation region. Okay, saturation region. So there we say that the transistor is fully on. Similarly, cutoff region is one which we have shown. We say the transistor is fully off. Okay, so here it is. Now in between whatever we have this area mainly. Now this will be taken as active region. Active region. Okay. So here, this is the active mode in which the transistor will be operated. Now, depending upon your application, if you want to use a transistor as an amplifier, you have to see that the transistor is operated in this active region. And if you want to use a transistor as a switch, then you should see that the transistor is operated in saturation and in cutoff mode. Okay, that is why understanding of the modes of operation of transistor is important before we go to see the application of transistor as a switch and transistor as an amplifier. Then what is this? How we get this modes of operation depends upon how we are going to apply the DC voltages to the transistor. Okay, so that application of external DC voltage, that process is called as biasing. So here, if you see what is transistor biasing, the supply of suitable external DC voltage is called as biasing. So either the junction can be forward bias or reverse bias. Okay, so either forward or reverse biasing is done to the emitter and collector junctions of the transistor. This biasing methods make the transistor circuit to work in four kinds of region, as we have told in the last class. So it can be your active region when the first junction is forward bias and second junction is reverse bias. It can be saturation region when both the junctions are forward biased. It can be a cutoff region when both the junctions are reverse biased. And it can be inverse active, opposite to the active region, when the first junction is reverse bias and second junction is forward bias, which is not used in any application, but it is called as inverse active region. Okay. So these are the four regions. Out of that, the first three are the important and used in applications. Okay. So here we are speaking this regions with respect to the forward bias and reverse bias of the junctions. Okay. So here, if you are having, say for example, NPN transistor. So this is your NPN. Say you can also take PNP. NPN transistor. This is emitter terminal. This is base terminal. This is collector terminal. Okay. Now this is your junction 1. This is your junction 1 and this is your junction 2. Second junction. Now how the junction 1 and junction 2 are biased depending upon that, whether they are forward biased by applying this DC voltage or reverse biased, and whether the second junction is forward biased or reverse bias by applying this voltage, will give you the region. So in active region, both the junctions, so the first junction, junction J1 is forward biased and junction J2 is reverse biased. In saturation region, both the junctions are forward biased, and in cutoff region both the junctions are reverse biased. And in inverse active, which is not used practically, in which we can say the first junction is reverse bias and the second junction is forward bias. It is just opposite to active region. Okay. Active region is used in a application where you can use transistor as an amplifier, and saturation and cutoff region are used in application where you can use transistor as a switch. Okay, switching on and off, because in saturation you can say transistor is on and in cutoff you can say transistor is off. Then if you compare this, the same thing, emitter based junction, collector based junction and region of operation. So this is the first junction between emitter and base, which is called as J1. This is the second junction between base and collector, which is called as J2. If the first junction is forward bias and second junction is forward bias, then the operation region of the transistor is saturation. If the first junction is forward bias, second junction is reverse bias, then it is in active region. The transistor is operating in active region. If the first junction is reverse bias and second junction is forward bias, it is inverse active region, which is not much, which is not used practically. Okay. And then the last one, the first junction is reverse bias and second junction is reverse bias. It is in cutoff region. Okay. So out of this, active region is used when you're going to use transistor for application of amplifier, and saturation and cutoff are used when you are to use a transistor as a switch, because in saturation it will be a on switch or closed switch, and in a cutoff region it will be off or open switch. So among these regions, as I have told you earlier, inverse active region, which is just the inverse of active region, is not suitable for any applications and hence it is not used. Then how does a BJT act as a switch? This is the first application we will see. Here we again go to the same concept of operating modes. So here we can say that a transistor has three modes: active region, cutoff region, and the saturation region. The a transistor acts as a switch in the circuit in the cutoff mode and the saturation mode. Okay, so this I have told you earlier also. These two modes, that is the cutoff mode and the saturation modes, are used for the transistor if it is being used as an switch, if you're going to use in that application, you have to make the transistor to operate in cutoff mode and saturation mode. The a transistor is fully off in the cutoff region and fully on in the saturation region. Then if you go to see the circuit of a transistor as a switch, so here you can see this is the circuit, which is a simple circuit shown for the explanation of a transistor as a switch. So here you can see this is the transistor, this is the NPN transistor. Okay, so here you can see the arrow going out, so we can say this is the NPN transistor. This is your emitter, this is base terminal, this is collector. Collector is connected through RC resistor to a DC power supply VCC plus VCC, and here you are having the input to the base as plus VBB voltage. This is the input. which will generate the input current IB. Okay. Now, if input is not given and if input current is not flowing, then the transistor will not conduct. Okay. If the input current is not given, if IB is equal to 0, okay, if IB is equal to 0, then the base will not drive the transistor into conduction and transistor will not conduct, and hence it will act as a open switch. Here you can show the open switch, or here you can show the open switch. Similarly, if the base current is existing, then the transistor will go into conduction, and then the current from the VCC also will start flowing. So this collector current also will start flowing, and the transistor will act as a closed switch as shown here. Okay, so depending upon the base input, you can make the transistor to be in cutoff mode or in saturation mode, that is open switch or closed switch. So here again we can show the same type of concept. So here you can see when the base current is 0, when the applied voltage is 0 to the base, when the base current is 0, okay, in that case the transistor is not going to be driven into conduction, it is not going to conduct, and there will be no current flowing in the collector region, so IC will be equal to 0 and it will be acting as an open switch. Okay. Similarly, when the base current is given, it is going to flow, it is existing, that time the transistor will go into conduction, collector current also flows, and the transistor acts as a closed switch. Okay. So it is open switch when it is in cutoff mode, it is open switch as we have shown here in the first figure. When it is closed switch, it is in saturation mode, it is called as closed switch as we have shown in the second figure. So same theory we can see here. The transistor cutoff mode is the state where both junctions of transistor base emitter and base collector are in reverse bias condition, called as cutoff mode of a diode. That is, each a junction you can take as a diode, and you can say that it is in reverse bias condition. Okay. So in this case, voltage drop across the base emitter is less than that, not allow current to flow from collector to emitter. In this state, VCE, that is the voltage between collector emitter, is equal to the applied voltage VCC. So VCE cutoff is equal to VCC. Then what is a transistor saturation mode? In this mode of operation, the base emitter junction is in forward bias condition. Due to that, base current is generated that results in production of collector current, and in that case the transistor is going to act as a closed switch. So here you can see the circuit which you can use for the experiment. So here you can see this is your a transistor, NPN transistor. Okay, NPN a transistor. Here is the arrow shown. So this is your emitter, this is base, this is collector. Okay, and here you are going to give the input square wave. So this is a square wave which will be on for 1 second, and it will be off for another 1 second, then again on for 1 second, then off for 1 second. Okay, that is given to the base. And here you can see the plus VCC supply is given to the collector, and there is a LED here, light emitting diode here. Okay, so here when the input is given as on time for 1 second, okay, there will be base current flowing here, and in that case the transistor will be driven into conduction. That time the collector current also will flow here. Okay, and that time the LED will glow. So LED will glow when the input is on time for 1 second. Similarly, when the input is off time for another 1 second, that time the base current will not be generated, transistor will not go into conduction, there will be no collector current flowing, and the LED will not glow. This LED will not glow. So whenever the input is on time, the LED will glow for 1 second. When the input is off time for 1 second, the LED will become off. This is how you can show a transistor going into cutoff and saturation mode, and it is acting as a switch. So depending upon the LED glowing, that is onning and offing. So whenever the LED is on, the transistor is a closed switch. Whenever the LED is off, the transistor is an open switch. So here you can see the experiment procedure. Transistor switch LED on and off. The circuit shown will on and off the LED. Number one, for instance, a square wave of cycle of 2 seconds is provided to the circuit as input. Number two, when the magnitude of the square signal is at 0 volts, transistor is in the cutoff region. Due to a cutoff, no current through a collector, the LED will not glow. Fourth, when the magnitude of the square signal is large, transistor is the saturation region. Fifth, this state makes LED forward bias and current flows through LED that glows it. Hence, LED remains on for 1 second and off for 1 second. That has been shown in the experiment. And that indication of LED shows whether the transistor is acting as an open switch or a closed switch. And that shows whether the transistor is operating in saturation mode or cutoff mode. Then we'll go to the second application where we want to show a transistor as an amplifier. A transistor acts as an amplifier by raising the strength of a weak signal. So whenever a circuit raises the strength of a weak signal and makes it strong, it is called as an amplifier. The DC bias voltage applied to the emitter base junction makes it remain in forward bias condition. This forward bias is maintained regardless of the polarity of the signal. So what we are saying here is whenever we are going to use transistor as an amplifier, say we take a common emitter configuration. Okay, so here we are going to apply a plus VCC supply here. Okay, now that plus VCC supply, whatever we are going to apply here to the collector of the transistor, okay, and this is base and this is emitter. So whatever VCC we are going to apply, okay, to the collector and base of the transistor. So that VCC, or whatever VCC supply we are going to apply here, we'll see that the first junction and the second junction of the transistor are properly biased. That is, the first junction is forward bias and the second junction is reverse bias. Okay, that is, it is operating in active region. Okay, now that should be done properly because afterwards when we apply a AC signal here to the base, okay, that time whenever the AC signal goes into negative half cycle, the biasing should not be affected. The forward bias of the base emitter junction and reverse bias of the base collector junction should not be affected even when the input is going negative half cycle. So that is why the DC applied voltage is very important to make the field placing of the first junction between base emitter to be forward bias and the second junction between base collector to be reverse bias. Then you can see the circuit of transistor as an amplifier here. So here we have shown this is a transistor. This is a NPN or transistor which is shown here, NPN. Now here you can see the arrow mark. So this is your emitter, this is base, this is collector. Okay, now here a collector is connected to the load resistor RL, and then here you are having your VCC supply. This VCC supply will make a current to flow through R1 and R2, which will develop their own voltages, and those voltages will be your biasing voltages, which will see that the first junction between emitter and base is forward bias and the second junction between base and collector is reverse bias, so that the transistor is operating in active mode. Then there is an input or capacitor here which will pass the input signal, which is the input signal which is a weaker input signal here. Okay, now when this input signal is going to pass, there will be a base current developed. Now that base current will make the collector current to develop. Now that collector current, when it passes through a high resistance like the load resistance RL, it will develop a high voltage. That high voltage will be IC into RL, which is your V out. So a small signal at the input like this will be seen as a amplified version at the output with the phase inversion. So you can see the output like this. Output will be an amplified version of the input with a phase inversion of 180 degree. And here you are going to connect RE, that is the emitter resistor, and C2 capacitor first as a stabilizing network. It will keep the transistor working in a stable mode. Okay. Now this is how the transistor is going to act as an amplifier. So input will be the base current, output will be the collector current. When the collector current passes through a higher resistance, then it is going to develop a high voltage, and hence we say the transistor is amplifying the input voltage at the output. So a weak signal is been made strong. So here you can see the working of BJT as an amplifier. The low resistance in the input circuit lets any small change in input signal to result in an appreciable change in the output. The base current caused by the input signal contributes to the collector current, which when flows through the load resistor RL results in a large voltage drop across it. Thus, a small input voltage results in a large output voltage, which shows that the transistor works as an amplifier. So, if you take an example with numerical values here, you can say that let there be a change of 0.1 volt in the input voltage being applied. So, the input voltage, whatever you are going to apply to the base, let there be a change of zero point 0.1 volt, which further produces a change of 1 milliampere in the base current. So base current IB is having a change of 1 milliampere. This base current will obviously produce a change in collector current, which also will be 1 milliampere. A load resistance of 5 kilo ohm is placed in the collector region that will produce a voltage. That voltage will be 5 kilo ohm resistance multiplied by 1 milliampere collector current, which will be equal to 5 volt as shown in the circuit over here. Okay. So here you can see that 5 kilo ohm load resistor multiplied by 1 milliamp collector current will give you the 5 volt at the output. This is your output voltage. Hence it is observed that a change of zero point 0.1 volt in the input gives a change of 5 volt in the output, which means the voltage level of the signal is amplified. So here we can show that transistor is acting as an amplifier. That is, a change of 0.1 volt in the input is showing a change of 5 volt at the output. So it is increased. Okay, so it has been amplified. Then what do you mean by thermal runaway? Okay, now thermal runaway is a phenomena which exists because there is a more power dissipated in the collector region, which is a larger region, and we know that collector based junction is reverse biased. So in that case, the region of collector is going to have more power dissipation. So here you can see, we know that in a transistor, power is dissipated in the collector, and hence it is made physically larger than the emitter and base junction. As the power is dissipated, there is a chance for the collector base junction temperature to be raised. As the temperature at collector base junction increases, the reverse leakage current ICBO increases because there are minority charge carriers. This is because ICBO arises due to the flow of minority carriers, which are thermally generated across reverse bias collector base junction, reverse bias PN junction. As the temperature increases, thermal generation increases, so the leakage current ICBO increases. So because the leakage current ICBO increases, the collector current also increases. So this cumulative effect goes on. So as ICBO increases, the collector current IC increases, power dissipated I square R will also increase. So as collector current increases, power dissipated increases, which in turn increase the collector base junction temperature. So the process is cumulative, leading eventually the destruction of the transistor. Thermal runaway can be prevented by using a heat sink. Okay. So here what we are saying is, as the collector power is increasing, the temperature will increase. Okay, increase, and as the temperature is increasing, the minority current ICO is going to increase. As the minority current is going to increase, the collector current, the main current is going to increase. As the collector current increases, the power, that is I square R, will increase. And as the power increases, again the temperature will increase. Again the temperature increases, the minority current will increase. Again the collector current will increase, and this process will go on, and this will increase the temperature and the minority current, and this is called as a thermal runaway, which can destroy your transistor. Then why is a heat sink needed? Heat is produced in the transistor due to the current flowing through them. If you find that a transistor is becoming too hot to touch, it certainly needs a heat sink. The heat sink helps to dissipate the heat by transferring it to the surrounding air. Heat sink is a metallic heat conducting device placed in the close contact with the transistor to dissipate heat energy to the surrounding environment. Usually, low power transistor do not require any heat sink. For power transistor, heat sink is necessary to dissipate heat generated during its operation. Heat sink is used to overcome the problem of thermal runaway. So heat sinks are used to overcome the problem of thermal runaway. Okay. Thank you, students.